And speaking of eccentric individuals, you're from the Ohio area where the Sheik, the original Sheik, was very popular. You want to just tell us your memories of him growing up, and I believe you actually worked for him, what it was like to work for the man.
The original Sheik was terrifying. As a kid, he was, a small guy, but he was larger than life. And because he believed in his own gimmick. And you believed in his gimmick. I've seen grown people, when he go at a crowd, grown people just separate like the Red Sea. And he was so effective at it. Even after I'd gotten into the wrestling business and I was on shows with him initially, I was like 18, 19, 20 years old, I was still terrified in the locker room of him coming in and, the myth that if you had to wrestle him, he had the razor on the end of the pencil and he'd just gig you and you wouldn't have a question or, he wouldn't have a choice. He'd just do whatever he wanted with you. And he wasn't a wrestler, you know what I mean? But he was a guy that had such a persona that it terrified you. And even when working for him, you were always like walking on eggshells, but you were afraid that you'd just say something and it would set him off and out this crazy guy would come, just like what you'd seen in the ring. But it was farthest from the truth. I mean, it was nothing like that.
What were the payoffs like working for him?
Terrible. But what I understand now. At the time when I was that age, I didn't understand it as well as I do now. And that is that your value is based on what your potential of selling tickets is, and that's it. So a lot of times I was Poom at that time, which is +1 on the match, or additional all-stars, or other great bouts. That means that my name was not on that poster at all. So whatever they paid me was whatever they paid me, because I was not a factor in how many people were in that building. Do you understand? It's not like today everybody believes, well, I trained and I've paid my dues and I'm entitled to. You're not entitled to shit. Make that perfectly clear. You're not. Just because you're a wrestler and you're good doesn't mean anything. You serve one of two purposes in this business. You're either the thing that sells tickets or you're one of the things that helps sell tickets. There is no third option. So if your name's not even featured on the poster, how much of a factor were you in how many people attended that show? Well, then what percentage do you deserve of that house? Right. So, payoffs when I first started were abysmal. I mean, I couldn't afford, they used to have these things called Stewart sandwiches that they were horrendous, that you would eat, you get in a gas station, and they were cold. They were terrible warm. They were even worse cold, okay? And back then, and I'm dating myself, but they didn't have microwaves in gas stations like they do now. So, I learned how to take a Boy Scout mess kit and some muffler tape, and I would put those sandwiches and other food items in the Boy Scout mess kit because they were like 50 cents. That's all I could afford. And then you'd put it on the manifold of the car and you'd drive for a little while and you heat the sandwich up. I called it the barbecue. That was the only way I could eat. So otherwise I ate cold food or I didn't eat anything.
And